Hello. Um, I'll be straight up. I just spent the last hour and a half recording this, streaming it, I thought, and it turns out it wasn't actually connected to YouTube. So I'm going to do this again, but it's going to be very short. So that's the one benefit if you're watching this. This is going to be a little bit shorter than the last one, but I'm going to cover I'm going to skip all of the fluff and my meandering and just get right to the point because it's really hard for me to talk that long, um, believe it or not. Anyway, this week we're gonna jump right into it. Let's see, look at this weird. One of these days I gotta do a. I'll worry about it later. Just I'm a little bit fuzzy because I need to adjust the settings a little bit. So my lighting is messing with it. Anyway, let me bring the mic a bit closer. Today we're talking about WordPress. Now, if you are watching this, I'm assuming that you're coming from the um, from my intro to technical and professional writing class. So you have your assignment is to take your instructions and research based narrative and take both and create a WordPress page. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. This is intended for those who have never used WordPress before. And excuse me, like I said, this will be a couple hours straight of me jabbering. Throat is a little bit dry. So we're going to cover some basics: how to add a page to WordPress, how to format it, some basic formatting, how to add images, and how to add comments, which is going to be important for the other part of the assignment. All right. Excuse me for 1 second. Should have made myself some tea beforehand, but just noticed that it didn't record, or recorded, it just didn't stream. I didn't think it would be, I'd have to manipulate that. But anyway. All right. So we've got our WordPress page here. And this is the sort of a standard welcome page that I've put together just as a way of introducing the class. It's the landing page that anyone visiting the site will get to. All right, it's pretty straightforward. One benefit is you don't have to watch me creating this page again. So if you're new to WordPress, I just want to spend some time going over the interface. A lot of elements should be fairly familiar, but there's some areas that may cause some frustration if you're not used to some of the functionality of WordPress and writing for online spaces. All right. So here we have the site, and I'm just going to go over some basic functions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. This is the dashboard. It'll give you some information. You can drag some boxes around. None of this is really going to be important to us. Maybe activity at a later date, but as you can see, there's no activity. All right, here's some details about the site. Intro, there's the theme, here's the it is public. I'll show you how to change that later on. All right, we're not going to worry about reader, we're not going to worry about sites. We're going to jump right down to posts and pages. Now, this is really important. Make sure you're creating a page. Now, this is always a point of confusion. Having made, I can't even tell you how many websites I've worked on, but at times I've worked with clients who have a web page started already. And lo and behold, one of the frustrations that they're having is that they have created a website based on blog posts rather than static pages. Well, we want our welcome page to be the first thing people see. Well, if you have it as a blog post, and it's a WordPress site, it's gonna you can pin it, I'm sure, but uh, it just creates more havoc than necessary. So be aware that you want to create a page. They look very similar. If I look at um, if I look at a new, if I'm creating a new blog post and I create a new page. Let's see, it went back. See, they look remarkably similar. Okay, very little difference between the two other than what's going on here on the side. And we'll talk about that in a second. Posts are helpful for a reason, and we're not focusing on those for now. What we're looking for are pages. All right. We may be doing posts at in the second half of the semester. We'll see when we get there and come back after spring break. All right, so let's focus on pages. So if you're just jumping in here, make sure that you follow the link. You're added as an editor. If you run into issues, please let me know as soon as possible. If you're going to wait until Saturday or Sunday to do this, you're going to run into problems because IT may not be as available. Cattle will probably not be as available as normal, nor will I be as available. So please don't wait until the last minute. I will provide another announcement reminder tomorrow. But sometimes the sign up process is not as easy as it should be. If you've taken one of my classes before where we've done websites, you know that this can be an issue. So please don't wait. All right, so we've got our pages. I'm going to add a title, dummy title, whatever. All right, and I'm going to, for the sake of our, where's my Word document I had over here? So I've got a Word doc over here that I'm just going to copy and paste. So what you're going to do is essentially, if you're taking my class, what you're going to do is take your research portion and your instructions and put them into one document. So the easiest thing, assuming that you did it in Word or Google Docs, what you're going to do is copy and paste that. Pretty straightforward. Never as easy as you'd think, though, right? So if I first thing to be aware of, you have two tabs here. When I was doing this in the previous attempt to create this video, I had it in text. And what it's going to do is, if you're in text, notice the formatting looks a little bit basic and simple. That's because what I just did was pasted it into the HTML version. Okay, so this is the HTML, the code, the script that creates the web page. Okay, so now what it's going to do is, if I preview this, nothing, right? Okay, so this might be an issue if you have worked on this and you don't have you've pasted it in there. When I did this, it defaulted to this view for whatever reason. So that makes sure that you're using that visual tab. The nice thing is all you got to do, copy and paste it onto that visual editor. Now, see what I did about the preview? Okay. Make sure you, oh, it actually worked this time. Huh. Okay. All right, so I do have the information there. Let's see. Oh, because that's the title, and none of the formatting came over. That's right, because it's just basic. Now, and you can see it's in the visual part right here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Go back. So there's two options. If I paste it, it's going to paste all of the formatting that came with it. So in the Word document that I'm copying from, which is the IRB handbook, I won't bore you with that. If I paste that, it's going to take all of the formatting, right? So if I just straight up copy and paste, it's going to give me all my formatting. This is great. It's very helpful. If I preview this now, it'll show me it's a little bit better. Okay. But I want to do things a little bit differently here. Close that. Don't need to see my email. Not that there's a whole lot going on there. Um, right. The other thing, sometimes what can happen though is what you're doing is taking a Word document or a Google document or whatever you're using, you're cutting and pasting that into a WordPress site that has its own formatting styles. Okay, because we're using a theme that has its own styles, it's going to automatically apply those. Well, you may run into issues such as maybe the formatting doesn't work with what you've done. So, I'm seeing a lot of weird things happening with the lists. So I might have to go through and change that. All right, so sometimes you may want to just paste it into the web page, just the text. So you right click, plain as paste text. You can also hit paste as text, and it'll do the same thing. All right. But we're just gonna go ahead and straight up, turn that off now, straight up, leave it like that. Okay, so we'll just work with what we've got. All right, so we've got our text in there now. I'm gonna do my preview. I advise you to do a preview of your page after maybe a handful of changes, especially anything significant. Make sure that it's going as expected because you can easily get sucked into a rabbit hole where you're doing lots of edits and changes and oh my god, I forgot to do this, and you have to do a lot of revisioning. However, there is a versioning function of WordPress that um, if we need to, I will show you how that's done. Let's put it that way, right? So we have our web page. Let's go ahead and that's it. You've pasted that in there. You've got something going on. I'm going to look at the preview one more time. Give it a check. All right, so I've got the bulleted list. There's some weirdness happening here, probably from I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. Looking at the other document, it's weird how it adds information, especially if you're using bulleted lists, because you're working with instructions. You're going to have those numbered lists, so it's going to expect some time to edit and really polish this up. Okay, close that. All right, next thing. Here's our tools. Pretty straightforward. Every time I highlight this, again, this is the formatting that came over from the Word document. Same thing, heading 3, heading 4, paragraph, all that good stuff. Pretty straightforward. You can change it here. Make it heading 1. I'm going to keep it heading 2. To go back to the text tab, again, this is your HTML. Right here we have our H2 tags, bold. Here's our link. Here's H3, H4. So pretty straightforward. You probably won't need to dig into that at all. I found that especially when it comes to using WordPress, every once in a while there'll be a function that I want to change and I need to adjust it in the HTML. We're not going to worry about that. A lot of the styles and treatments of the theme can be changed in the Cascading Style Sheets page, CSS. We're not going to worry about that either. We're just going to stick with this, default theme. All right, so now we've got our page. You'll probably want to add an image. So we're going to add media. And I've already got an image uploaded, so I'll show you that. Show you what we want everyone to be doing. As we move forward, next second half of the course, we're going to be doing libguides for the library's new board game collection. And so what we're going to be doing as part of the standard protocols for that, we're going to have to provide some accommodations for those with different abilities. Okay, so for alt text, if you're not familiar, is what is read by a screen reader for those who are visually impaired. So without being able to see the image, alt text is read instead. Okay, so you want to provide a short description, close-up photograph of a honeysuckle blossom with dewdrops. Very nice. All right, I've got the title here. I've got the caption. Captions are also going to be important. Okay, description, not as important, but there. All right, file URL, there it is. Okay, here's the other thing. Where do you want the alignment? We can adjust that later, so I'm going to keep it right for now. It seems to play a little bit better with WordPress this way, so I'm going to leave it like that. Link to media file. Now, if you have the link, a link embedded in the image, it's when you click on that image, it's going to pull you to a blown up full screen version of it, or whatever the size is, I think. Sorry. You can also send it to another page. You could send the link to a custom URL. So, for example, a Wikimedia Commons page, for example. I'm just going to keep it at none because I don't want anyone to, if you accidentally click the link, then you have to go back, and that's a hassle. I'm going to move this down to medium size, and I'm going to insert into the page. So you'll notice it populates it. It's got some, because I already created this, by the way, it's got my previous formatting in there. So it's a line right. It's going to have the text wrap around the left-hand side. I can also do it the right. And so it's also, if you have a number of images, it may be helpful to make sure you have them all on one side. Or if you're so inclined, you could have them alternate. That's just going to get a little bit, it can be challenging. If you want to take the time to do that, that's great. That can create more issues. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right, I'm going to put this, if I do no alignment, it's going to have the text go from top to bottom. So this is handy if I were to have the image in the middle. So let's go ahead and preview that. All right, so it's going to put the image right in the middle there, and it looks a little goofy, all tiny like that. So I'm going to go ahead and move that back. All right, preview again. All right, much better. Notice that the type is different, and the treatment, the styles are all a little bit different from what is in the editor pane. Right, this is the editor pane. All right, so you have this, what do you call it? Bulleted list, or it's a numbered list here, and with bullets that follow. So you're gonna have to go through and revise this. Again, this is with pasting the formatting from an official campus document. I am, for example, also not crazy about the way it's numbered. I probably can't change that here unless I dig into the CSS, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'll just leave it how it is. All right, so we've got, this is how to start a page. This is how to copy your content into there. This is how to add images. If images come over with you, I would be willing to bet it's going to create some havoc. Maybe not, but just be aware that that may be an issue. If it causes troubles, it may be easier to take the image from your file, download it, save it on your desktop if it's not there already, and then re-upload it again. May make it easier, so be aware of that. But you do want, if you forget or need to create that alt text, edit, and then do it here. That's going to be important, so make sure that's in there. All right, so last preview. Looking good, or at least as good as it's going to get. Some other functions here that may or may not be useful. Block quote, if I have a chunk of information that's a quote for whatever reason, and I can, 4 lines or more, I believe, is what we use as a block quote. It just treats it that way. We're not going to worry about that. Align left, center, right. If I'm going to add links, you're going to want to add links at some point, right? So you're going to do this. In fact, if I go up, we have a link up here. If I click on it, it'll give me the link. Let's go ahead and remove it so I can show you how it's done. If you've never done this before. So one thing that's nice, if it is already a web URL, that means it starts with HTTPS or HTTP, it will automatically do it for you. Okay, so you highlight it, click the link, and it'll input that information. Just assume that that's the link you want to do, and it'll apply it. Let's say, however, let's break this link, copy it, and let's say, because that's ugly and I don't like it, and that's why we don't throw URLs in web pages, we're just going to go ahead and highlight this portion because this looks appropriate. I'm going to click the link. I'm going to paste it in there, right? Some other settings that may be of use. Edit over link options, open link in new tab or not. I usually click on opening it in a new tab because that makes it opens up that separate tab. That way the person doesn't have to click back. They can just close that tab or keep it, open if they want to. So I'm going to update that. Preview. Here's our new link. And so when I go, it's going to open up this new page, right? Cool. Almost look like a libguide there, like the one we're going to be making. All right, so that's our page. Now, here are some other settings that I want you to be aware of, just in case you start to, if you are familiar with WordPress and you want to try something new, that's great. Otherwise, there might be some things that pop up. You click on the wrong thing, and here's an idea of some things that may happen. Make sure you're saving early, saving often. When you're ready to publish it, you don't need to pen review. Let's see, publish. And what you're going to do is view the page. And you're going to copy that URL. And you're going to submit that to Canvas, assuming you're taking my class. All right. And you'll be good to go. All right. And when we come back from spring break, we'll talk about it. You will also, don't forget to provide comments. And this is the next thing I want to show. The other thing is to keep in mind, there is also a block editor, which has additional functions. So if I switch to block editor here, it's going to give me a whole new interface. This is WordPress moved to this some time ago. It is not how I learned WordPress, so it always takes me a little bit of time to get used to it, more time than I want to spend on this video. Okay, so I'm going to update it. Let's see. So, it's grayed out. So here's an obstacle you may come across. If you switch to this and you need to edit it and it's not editable, that's because it's already published. So you're going to switch to draft and unpublish it. I'm going to click on it and then go. Anyway, so you can see there's a little bit of difference here. The most significant difference is once I go here, I'm going to click what type of block I want to create. Many, 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 many more options. And this is good because when we're talking about accessibility, when we're talking about interactivity, we want, again, it's helpful to create pieces that are a little bit more engaging with your audience or your user. Okay, so you might have a video, you might have an image, right? You might have let's see what else we got here. You might want to add a page list. You might want to have the whatever short codes. You probably don't have to worry about that. A lot of this is fairly straightforward. I was kind of hoping we would have like embedding. You can add a Twitter feed. There's a lot, and I'm not sure exactly how much UWGB will allow us to do. There's, on one hand, it's great that we have access to WordPress sites and we can use them in our class. On the other hand, they're locked down fairly tightly, so you may come across functions that are not available to us. All right. So if you're in this uh, block editor and you want to get out of it, I just click the ellipsis here, switch to classic editor. But you can see there's even more options here. Okay. All right. So that is that. All right, so pretty straightforward. That's how to create your site. I'm going to save the draft. I've got it published again. Right. Looks fine, whatever. Let's go back. So now I'm going to look at all pages, and I've got my dummy title here. Now this is going to be important for the second part. Once you have your page done and it's ready to go, make sure to go back to all pages. Over here, if you have your, this is the page that I created. I'm going to go over to quick edit. Over here, allow comments. I'm going to update it. Okay. So if I view the page, I can add comments. So now this is going to be important for adding comments to the page. Now this is part of the interactivity and accessibility component of this assignment. Now this is just an introduction, so we're not looking for robust interactive elements. But bear in mind that we do want to make sure that get off on the right foot, that our images have alt text, that we have clear headings and subheadings. Again, this is a nice thing about a WordPress template is that they come pre-packaged and ready to go. You want to make sure there's nice, generous spacing that helps ease up on our on the amount of reading that we're doing. But otherwise, just make sure that those comments are there, or that's going to be accessible. Okay. All right, let's see what else. What else? I think that's about it. I'm impressed that I managed to take that hour and a half and compress it to half hour. Tells you how much babbling I was doing, though. I was talking about all sorts of goofy things, going through all the interface and all that other stuff. So just be aware. We can see the comments here, and let's go. Actually, let's go back to the page. So if I add a comment here, right? It's going to await moderation, and that is going to ping me, I believe. So we go under comments now. Don't make me look foolish. All right, so it's whatever happened. It's not not cooperating for whatever reason. Huh. All right. Well, maybe it's my connection, but anyway, so your comments will be thrown in there. I believe I will get an email saying that a comment was posted, and we'll make sure that those are added to the page after we've checked them. But I'll want to make sure that those comments are on there. Make sure that you comment on at least 2 pages, and then we should be good to go. Oh, there we go. There's our page again. Let's go back to our dashboard. Not sure why that was taking so long, but anyway, there we go. So we got our comment. There's our comment there. I can approve it, reply, quick edit. I encourage you to reply to the comments, especially if there are any good questions, but in the comments, provide suggestions. This is going to be our peer review for for this project. Just make sure that if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out. There's also plenty of documentation on the WordPress site, but should be a fairly straightforward process of taking your content you're writing, revising it appropriately, adding it to the page, which, by the way, if I did not show that, this is all pages, add new. Okay, just first, make sure you're not creating a post. You can always create a page from that, but just that might cause issues. Make sure you're adding images with alt text. Make sure you're formatting appropriately, and then make sure that you're adding those functions. So again, that's all pages. Quick edit, and then this allow comments box, and then you should be good to go. And then, of course, commenting, on at least 2 other pages. Otherwise, if I don't hear from you, have a great spring break. When we get back, we will be looking at, we'll be jumping into the second half where I'm actually in discussion now, planning our, making sure that meeting with folks at the library, talk about what they need, how this is going to how we're going to facilitate this. So look forward to an introduction from myself and the library folks when you come back. All right. Otherwise, have a safe and restful spring break.